Right, and there's no way to negotiate with them because
Oh, yes.
they believe that whatever they believe is right. And is the CIA or is the government or anything, are they doing anything to make our presence known, or are we just sitting back and letting this happen?
Well, when you say we are doing some things,
Yeah.
but I think our government is pretty much in paralysis. You can see it on television playing out at night, where on the one hand you've got the president's own Secretary of Defense and his own Chairman of the Joint Chiefs saying these guys are an existential threat. We've got to act to get that ISIS must be destroyed. They must be destroyed. There's no negotiating with them. We've got to act now. We are being warned by our allies, Saudi Arabia, that said in a month ISIS will be in Europe. In 2 months they'll be in America. I mean, that's coming from the Saudis, who, by the way, bear some responsibility for all this because they've been supporting Wahhabism and all the rest and some of these radical ideologies with their money. But even now they're afraid because they've created this Frankenstein monster called ISIS that's after them too, by the way. And you know, their heads will be on the pike too if ISIS isn't stopped. Yet the president is you know, showing this incredible ambivalence. You know, at one point he said ISIS must be destroyed, then he must say ISIS must be contained, you know. And then he said, well, it's the other countries that have to do it. I certainly don't think we're doing enough. You know, it's self-evident that we're not. You know, ISIS is still winning in northern Iraq, and now, you know, based on what happened over the Labor Day weekend with this chatter, they're reaching out to get help from these drug cartels and criminal groups in Mexico to possibly come across our border and attack us here. No. You know, I don't think we're doing nearly enough. We're another, you know, huge problem where we don't understand the threat well enough is that it's politically incorrect to speak as I've been speaking to you about the root of the problem, which is this radical Islamic jihadist philosophy and the belief that they're in the end times. I was frankly very surprised and pleased to hear that General Dempsey, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, finally said that. I mean, he's like the first person in the administration who's spoken in those terms and has spoken the truth in all the years that the president has been in power. They've been very meticulous about, they don't even want to call them terrorists. They call them extremists all the time, all right? And they don't use the word jihadists or anything like that to describe them. It's an axiom of war, you know, that if you do not understand your enemy, then you're doomed to defeat. You must understand your enemy in order to defeat him. And, you know, ultimately, you know, this is, in addition to military struggle, this is an ideological struggle. And the ideological part of that struggle is probably even more important than the military operations themselves. You know, as we witnessed in ISIS' quick triumph over the Iraqi army, you know, we trained that army for years. But you know, the technical skill and all of the good equipment they had obviously didn't compensate for the lack of ideological conviction to stand up for freedom and to keep their own heads on their shoulders.
No, I agree. And also, I was just reading to you earlier that, and I'm just reading it now also, that Russia dispatched naval forces to reopen its Arctic base. What do you feel about that with Russia reopening bases? I mean, is there something to be concerned about with that?
Well, I'm far more concerned with the obvious Russian, you know, move to conquer Ukraine, and you know, certainly it's another sign of Russian aggression, Russian expansionism. You know, the evil empire is back. You know, Putin has made no secret that he wants to reconstitute the Soviet Union or the old Russian Empire. He considered that to be the greatest tragedy of the 20th century, that it fell apart. And there's a history there of Russian involvement in the Arctic. You know, a few years ago, a Russian submarine planted a flag on the seabed of the Arctic Ocean. You know, they're claiming that as their territory because it's very wealthy with natural resources. And again, it brings them into conflict with our with American allies. You know, like Norway and Sweden and other countries that have laid claim to those territories, and they feel that's in their backyard too, and they're entitled to some of those resources. And Russia has a very different view about that.